Raji, good evening. We are starting the second week of PMP training. Last week we left off after we described the project, program, and portfolio and the relationships, and also we did talk about the PMOs. Today we are going a step ahead and we are going to be talking about the relationship between the project management, operations management, and organizational strategy. You know, we have been talking about everything to be linked with the organizational strategy. This is now the time we see how they are linked to the organizational strategy. I said whatever happens in an organization has to be aligned with the organizational strategy. We have to see where the organization is headed, what are their intention, what is the direction and vision of the organization, what are the organizational objectives, and what are the various strategies organization has set up to follow to reach those objectives. Then in accordance with those organizational strategies, everything else in the organization would be subordinated to that. No matter it is a project or an operation, or even if we talk about the organizational project management, we talk about the portfolio management, program management, whatever we have within an organization is actually aligned with the organizational strategy. So in this chapter, we will talk about operations and project management. We will also have a glimpse of operational stakeholders in project management. Naturally, we will discuss the project stakeholders later, but for now, what are the operational or organizational stakeholders who can impact the project and who can become also part of the project or the stakeholders of the project. Then the next topic is the organization and project management. In organizations, we will talk about what kinds of organizations could be there and how could there be a project-based organization. And then we'll establish a link between the project management and organizational governance. Now, governance is something important and we have to understand what this governance is. Then we'll talk about the relationship between the project management and organizational strategy. Naturally, once the governance is understood, it will be much easier to understand how the project management and organizational strategy are related and linked. As far as the operations are concerned, we all know and understand that operations are a kind of an organizational function which are ongoing in nature. They are throughout the life of the organization, they keep happening. Operations keep happening. So this is ongoing execution of activities that produce the same product or provide a repetitive service. So if there is a factory, it is producing some items, so exactly same product would be churned out of that factory on a continuous basis. This is the ongoing operation or ongoing execution of those activities. So the set of activities are predefined. If you keep doing that, you will keep producing that product. That is also known as standard operating procedure. If you keep doing exactly in the same manner, you will keep producing the same product. So this is how the operations are configured. And if you don't follow the standard operating procedure, this is kind of criminal and this is punishable by the organization. So if someone is not following the procedures, then probably he needs to be. Operations management is responsible for overseeing, directing, controlling business operations. So this is the control. Operations management will ensure that people are following the standard operating procedure. They will oversee them, they will direct them, they will control all the business operations. So this is how the operations management will happen. Then we have operations that evolve to support your day-to-day business. So why and how the operations were structured and designed and laid out in the way it is written in the SOP, that is that must be the optimal way of doing that thing. the product you wanted to produce on the continuous basis, you must have found the optimal and the most effective and efficient method to do that. But naturally, over a period of time, you may find improvements and enhancements. That is called continuous improvement. So you can update your operations or SOPs on day-to-day basis, but whatever is the current version of the SOP is supposed to be followed for your day-to-day business. Operations are naturally necessary to achieve your strategic and tactical goals of the business, because whatever profit you are making or whatever objectives you are meeting from that operation is the main lifeblood of your organization. If you do not earn those benefits, if you don't earn that profit out of the business, then probably your business will cease to exist. That is exactly why it is so important to keep running the operations according to the SOPs. On the other hand, you understand that projects are temporary in nature, but they do help achieve your organizational goals when they are aligned with the organizational strategy. So from where this project would come and get aligned to the organizational strategy and still serve the organization when operations are already doing so well. Why do you need projects? Anyone who can help me on that? Yes, please.
Sir, as it's mentioned, for any sort of change, for any sort of new development, and like change of strategy, it could be many things through which projects can improve the operations and make it more beneficial for the organization.
Exactly. So we do understand that although we have designed the operations in the best possible manner, we expected them to be optimized, most effective, most efficient, but there is always room for improvement. We can always continuously keep improving it. Whenever there is any such change which could serve to improve our operations, we will bring that change into our operations through projects. And those projects which we give birth to for this specific purpose would definitely be aligned with the organizational goals and objectives. Therefore, projects are also aligned with organizational goals. As we just discussed, organizations sometimes change their operations, products, or systems by creating strategic business initiatives. Those business initiatives are your projects. And this is a very general term I am using, projects. Actually, this is the whole science of organizational project management, which is responsible for bringing that change into the operation. So simply put, we say project. But what I really mean to say is it could be the same whole mechanism of organizational project management, which we just discussed before. Operations management is a subject area that is outside of the scope of formal project management. Naturally, we understand that we are studying project management and not operations management, but some introduction of operation management was required, which is being discussed here. Otherwise, we are not supposed to be studying operations management in this body of knowledge. This body of knowledge, operations management is out of scope. So we will only define and relate to the operations management to that extent, but we are not going to specialize in that. We are not going to talk in detail about the operations management. So whatever we are talking now, this is going to be all, and we won't be talking a lot about operations management anywhere else. It is an area of management concerned with ongoing production of goods and services. We understand that. It involves ensuring that business operations continue efficiently by using the optimal resources needed and meeting the customer demands. So you see, that's exactly what I said. We want our operations always to be optimal from the point of the productivity, resource usage and everything. We want them to be efficient, effective, and naturally We will only be satisfied when we think that we are working at our optimal level. Whenever our operations, our standard operating procedures are set, we believe they are at their optimum, but whenever we feel that there is some improvement required, we definitely will go for that improvement and bring that change to our operations. But you see, as I discussed earlier in one of my previous lectures, change in operations is not so easily brought in. It is just not possible that you can change the ongoing operations on the run. The operations managers cannot bring that kind of change. This is the matter of amending the SOPs. Normally, it is said that rules cannot be bent. They can be broken, but they cannot be bent. You just can't keep changing the way of doing things while you are doing them. But what you could do is you could design a separate system, test its applicability, and if it is good enough, then you can adopt it and you can stop using the previous method. You can adopt a new method. So project will actually help you invent or design or see the applicability of a new method. It is concerned with managing processes that transform inputs into outputs. So inputs could be any raw material, anything, whatever you get in, and what gets out of something is an output. So within a process, you do have a lot of work to do. Some work is to be conducted in a coherent manner, and some certain tools and techniques are to be used there. So operations are made up of processes. And it is not only the operations which are made up of processes. Actually, projects are also made up of processes. Programs, portfolios, everything is made up of processes. And processes are so interesting that they could be repetitive in nature. There is a process of, printing a page. You could use this process in your operations, or maybe you can adopt this specific process in your project. So processes could be, taken up in any of the projects, and you could even invent new processes. You could orchestrate these processes in a manner that the project is designed so the specific set of processes are done in a way which has never been done before. That is why that would be a project. But in operations, as we said, we do repetitively the same set of processes all the time to produce the same kind of product all the time. So processes may be operational processes or project processes, which we'll discuss later. There are certain similarities in projects and operations. Both encompass work, both are made up of processes, both have to require human and other resources to do their job. And when both are requiring resources to do their job, then definitely they will always be constrained about certain resources. Those resources which are more in demand will get less in supply, and therefore you will be limited by resources, and then you will have to intelligently and judiciously use those resources only on the most prioritized activities. Both operations and projects, they need to be planned properly, they need to be executed and controlled. But as far as the operations are concerned, you keep repeating this cycle all the time, infinitely. You keep planning, executing and controlling, planning, executing and controlling. But as far as projects are concerned, you will have to start the project from a specific point in time and finish at some point in time, and you have to deliver something. And after you have delivered those objectives or those deliverables, then the project life is finished. Whereas operations, after delivering the product, is not finished. It will keep producing the same product all the time. Then we also talked about the projects and operations both have to be aligned with the organizational strategy. Both have some transfer of deliverables and knowledge amongst each other. When we start a project, naturally the hardcore knowledge, the technical knowledge of the problem and the technical aspects is held by the operations. So we get a lot of knowledge input, physical input from operations to start a project. And after we have successfully completed a project, the output of the project, which is the deliverable, is then transitioned to the operations to be adopted. And at that point, projects are definitely closed. So there is a relationship between projects and operations. They do not work in isolation. So this occurs through transfer of project resources to operations towards the end of the project and through transfer of operational resources to project at the start of the project. So operational resources projects need in the beginning, and after project is completed, the deliverable is given to the operations. Okay, and what are the differences between projects and operations? Let's have a look at that. Naturally, to manage projects, we need to have project management. To manage operations, we have a number of skills and knowledge areas like business process management, operations management, and so many other terms which relate to various types of operational management. Projects are temporary in nature. They are temporary assignments, but operations, they are permanent work. They continue to happen. And they are ongoing in nature. They keep repeating themselves while the projects are unique in nature. Projects produce their output, whatever the unique output or deliverable they have to produce, and they finish after fulfilling the requirements. Whereas the operations continue repetitively using that product or producing that product. Projects do get human and other resources for doing their job on a temporary basis, and after naturally the job is done, the resources are released, whereas the resources being used by operations are permanent. Like you see, in finance department, there will be all people related to finance, and they will be qualified in that. They would be serving in that department for quite so long that they would be knowing each other. They would be loyal to each other. They would be, have long relationships, whereas in projects the people do not have that kind of long relationships. They do not even know each other many times, and they have to establish new relationship for this short duration of time, which is the project. Projects are executed according to the project management plan. Whatever, as we will discuss it more, project management plan once developed very carefully, I said a lot of time to be spent in planning. Once project and plan is developed very carefully, then it has to be religiously followed. You just can't deny that or defy that. You can't just start doing things ad hoc. We don't want that. So we want to follow the project management plan as such. Similarly, in operations, we have SOPs, standard operating procedures. And naturally, it is expected from operations, the people who are working in operations, that they would follow SOPs. And somebody who is not following SOPs, that is committing a crime and he is punishable. Projects attain their objectives, whatever their purpose has been set, and once they have achieved their target, they just terminate. On the other hand, operations do not terminate. Operations sustain the business. This is the lifeblood of the organization. If operations do not run, if they stop, the organization stops, profit stops, and you can't pay your resources and things like that. And ultimately, your business will be no more. Projects conclude when their specific objectives are achieved, while the operations adopt the output which has been produced by the project, and then it starts repetitively doing it, adopts a new set of objectives, and then the work continues. So these are just some similarities and some differentiations between the projects and operations, and we do understand that how and where operations and projects interact with each other. Projects can intersect with operations at various points. When after the project is closed, naturally it has to give whatever it has produced to the operations. When it is developing something new product, upgrading a product, or expanding outputs, it has to get some knowledge from them. Improvements to operations are to be brought in. Interaction with the project and operations will be there. until the divestment of the operation. That means until an operation has reached its optimum, it will always seek help of projects to bring certain changes. You are creating a specific model of Toyota Corolla. So whatever model you have created right now, it has been adopted, it is gone into operations. There have been some bugs found in it, and you get back, start another project, and you improve that, and then you come up with another version of the same model, and so on and so forth, until that model is divested, it is completely stopped in production, and you want to then start some other operation. Only till that time the projects will keep interacting with the operations. Coming over to the topic of the operational stakeholders, naturally we will talk about the stakeholders as far as the projects are concerned later, but a lot many people who have to deal with your operations in any capacity, they may become your project stakeholders. So you must be very careful in identifying your project stakeholders from these operational stakeholders. Generally speaking, I would just say that a stakeholder is a person or an organization who has anything to do with the project. And that means they really have to do something with the project. Somebody who has nothing to do with your operations or with project, that is not your stakeholder. No matter how small relationship that stakeholder has with that operation or with that project, no matter how big or small that stakeholder is, no matter whether this is internal or external, so whatever kind of relationship can be established between a stakeholder and the operation or the project, that relationship makes that person a stakeholder. So the needs of all the stakeholders who have any involvement with your work must be assessed. You just can't ignore a specific stakeholder because that stakeholder doesn't really matter. Nobody is nobody doesn't matter. Everybody does matter. If there is a relationship, they do matter. You just can't say that a stakeholder who looks meaningless at this point in time will not become a major stakeholder in future. Therefore, you just can't ignore anyone. Although once you have identified all the stakeholders, later on we may decide to prioritize and we may pay more attention to certain stakeholders, but at least we must identify all the stakeholders, and we must keep analyzing and measuring their priority all the time. As if a small stakeholder starts becoming big, then we would change our strategy to deal with them. Okay, so need for stakeholders who perform and conduct business operations are important considerations in project that will affect their future work and endeavors. As I said, there is a relationship between operations and projects, because there would be an operational need or an operational problem to fix which we are bringing a change through a project. Therefore, the associated problem would have associated stakeholders. So those stakeholders from operations must be considered while starting this project, because these will become the project stakeholders later. Project manager who considers and appropriately includes the operational stakeholders in all phases of project gains insight and avoid unnecessary issues that often arise when their input is overlooked. Actually, it's not only the matter of overlooking the input. We straight away overlook the stakeholders. We forget identifying certain stakeholders, and then suddenly they surface and the whole look of the project would be changed, because we did not take into account the needs and expectations of those specific stakeholders which we have ignored. Operational stakeholders should be engaged and their needs identified as part of the stakeholder register. We will create a stakeholder register. A list of stakeholders will be created, and in that list we will list down all stakeholders, no matter how big, small, positive, negative, internal, external, whatever kind of stakeholder is there. We just can't ignore anyone. And this will also help us in developing our risk management plan, because risks are associated with the stakeholders also. This is an example of some of the operational stakeholders which we may consider. I'm not saying that you must consider all of these stakeholders. This is just a sparing list. There could be more than that. There could be many other stakeholders, operational stakeholders, which you might consider. Just to give you an example of what this operational stakeholders may look like, this is a list where we have plant operators, where we have manufacturing line supervisors, help desk staff, production system support analysts, customer service representatives, salespersons, maintenance workers, so on and so forth. This is just a small little list of operational stakeholders. There could be others also. So just don't stick to this list. There could be more. So that much for the operational stakeholders. But as I said, we will naturally talk about the stakeholders in much more detail later from the project point of view. Okay, organizations, governance, and their strategic objectives. This is what we are going to be discussing from now. What is governance? Let me ask you, what do you think? What is governance? Welcome, Rijo. You are back after many days, 2 days break.
Yes, sir, I'm back right now.
Did you catch up with the other lectures which we, uploaded?
Yeah, I did not get to complete the whole thing, but I did finish around 1.5 hours of it.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I think it was a pretty, it was a pretty comprehensive session, because it went to, I think it covered a high level area, right?
Exactly.
Within portfolio. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting and comprehensive lecture.
Wonderful. So what do you think about this governance thing? What is this governance?
Of how the top management would run the system of the organization, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's something to do with that. But if you say top management, then probably we have to define the difference between management and governance, isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
So anybody who can tell me how do you differentiate management and governance? Are there interchangeable terms?
So governance can be the tool of the management to handle and operate stuff according to the rules and regulations
Okay.
of the organization.
Okay. Right. It could be a tool. I am more convinced with your rules thing. Uh, but you said it's a tool of for management. I may tend to agree with that, but there is a small little difference. Who, what the management is governing? The governance structure, but I understand from what you said is it's kind of certain kind of rules and regulations. Is it so?
Yes, sir.
So certain kinds of rules and regulations, who will establish those rules and regulations? Who will impose them? Will it be the management?
So it's Vijay here. I think this would be part of the operational strategy, because this thing that developed initially as part of the operational strategy of the organization. And this is something that the management would use on a regular basis to maybe review operational processes.
Right. Okay, let me put it in another way. There are tiers in management. As somebody said, top level management. Then there are other levels of management. The higher level of management normally establishes these rules, and these rules actually bespoke the organizational strategy. In the direction the organization is going, these rules actually are translation of that strategy. So this is a set of laws which is to be governed within the organization, and defiance to those laws might be punishable. Now, under these rules or laws, the management of the organization or the lower level management or middle level management is supposed to abide by that. So they have to do their management in accordance with these governance rules. Do you get the point? Governance is coming from very up there, from top. And this is the specific rules and regulations or policies or laws, and these laws have been given organization wide. For example, you say that our organization is going to be working only from 9 to 5, and there is no exception to that. That is an organizational rule that we will work from 9 to 5, no overtime. This is an organizational rule. Under this organization, the management cannot decide to increase or enhance the time, or they cannot reduce the timing without the permission of the top level management. So all the managers will be obliged to follow what has been in the governance. Like, to put it a bit more in sense, this is how the governments work. Governments of countries, how do they work? They have a governance mechanism, and they define that these are the laws, and this is the mechanism of checking them, and if you don't do them, these are the people who can catch you. These are the managers who can catch you, and these are the punishments you can get. So in a country, we have got the parliament, we have got the judiciary, we have got the police. So this is the whole mechanism of governance. Simply making the rules does not serve the purpose. You have to have a mechanism to catch the people not following those laws, and you have to have a mechanism of punishing those people or rewarding those people who have done good, or who have done, punishing those who have done bad. So this is the governance mechanism, and just having rules would not serve the purpose. So this governance mechanism has to be in alignment with the organizational objective. If we are talking about governments, then this is a national objective, the national vision. So whatever the national vision is, your governance structure will be tailored according to that. And all the managers, maybe, these are the chief ministers or whatever, the bureaucracy or whatever, they have to follow the same law. Am I making any sense?
Yes, sir. Sir, to add something in it, like governance is not just the implementation of SOPs or rules. It's basically also the mechanism of check and balances.
Exactly. And I would say specifically, it is not talking about any SOPs. It is giving a direction that whatever the SOPs are established, they must be followed religiously. But SOPs are not given out as a governance structure. SOP is not part of the governance structure. SOP may be established by the management and then, approved by the governance structure. But the general rules of business are established at the top level, and general mechanism of check and balance is established there. Now, you are a manager, or you are the head of one of the departments. There is a governance mechanism over you which makes you obliged to work under it. But under your management, under your department, you can have your own influence, but naturally remaining within the boundaries of the governance mechanism over you. So what can you do? Remaining within the organizational governance, you can develop your own governance structure within the department. And your managers would be obliged to follow your governance mechanism, but your governance mechanism must be subordinate to the organizational governance and must not be in defiance to the organizational governance. Am I making some sense here? Okay, because you see, sometimes the things we talk about, we discuss in the class, sometimes they may be very pointed and they may itch somebody that, well, this person is not saying all right. So we need to discuss that. And if you have any other opinion, you must table it as if we can discuss it and we can sort it out. Maybe I am corrected sometimes. So that means the governance can be translated downstreams into more detail. There could be an organizational governance. There could be for organizational project management, there may be a portfolio governance. Under portfolio governance, there may be a program governance. Within a project, there could be a project governance. But who is authorized to develop the governance structure for a specific body? The governance structure comes from top. For project, the governance will come from program or portfolio. For program, the governance would come from portfolio or strategy. You understand my point? The governance is not created by, if it is a project manager cannot develop a governance structure. The person he is answerable to, the governance structure is coming from there. And governance structure could be in a hierarchy. There is a program governance, there is a portfolio governance, there is an organizational governance. So every governance structure is subordinate to the upper one. So the project governance is not the responsibility of a project manager to create. His boss will dictate whatever terms he wants in define the governance structure. But governance structure is such an important document that project management plan developed by the project manager is actually based on this governance structure. I mean, this governance structure can provide quite a bit of template for the project management plan, and therefore governance structure must be considered. So as far as the project management plan is concerned, we usually say that, well, we will look at the organizational policies, procedures, and old data, historical data, lessons learned, and maybe other organizations, how did they do the job. Well, all these sources of information are not mandatory. They are optional. You could take help from anywhere, but the bound over you, the thing which is binding you, which is a law on you, is the project governance structure. You cannot take a data from anywhere if your governance structure forbids you not to do that. So remaining within the governance structure, you could take data from anywhere, you could take procedures from anywhere, and you could devise your project management plan. So the thing which is imposing on you is the governance structure. And optionally, if the governance allows, optionally you can take data from anywhere. Am I making sense? I am sure there must be some confusion, and there should be some confusion. These are very critical topics, and I mean, um, maybe I cannot describe the things properly, and you might understand something else. So please speak up and discuss if you want.
No, sir. I guess it's pretty clear that the governance is coming from the top level towards the bottom, and then according and living in those limits, like departmental managers or the like project managers or whoever it is, they can define or they can give it more detail. Living in the same limit. So
Right.
it's pretty clear, sir.
But one thing you must be sure about, that the level we are talking about, the governance structure comes from a level up. minimum a level up. It cannot be created, governance structure cannot be created by the project manager for the project. If at all,
No.
there is a governance structure to be created by the project manager that could be for the teams or phases or whatever, but it cannot be for the whole project. The governance structure comes a level up. Okay.
No, sir. I meant like they can put more detail, as you said, like
Yeah.
by living, yeah, living under the same structure, they can
Following,
like give it more detail.
right. Following the governance structure, remaining within that governance structure, they can, get data from anywhere. Or they can plan anything. They're free to plan anything remaining within that governance structure. That's what I mean.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
So let's see what the book says. Organizations use governance to establish strategic direction and performance parameters. A check and balance system, some way of checking how well the lower departments or lower functionaries are performing. You see, one other thing you must consider, and that is the lower you are in an organization, more detailed or you're looking at the things in more detail. But the person sitting up there at the top of the organization cannot have so many eyes. He cannot have so much of technical knowledge about everything, but he has the optimum power. The person at the bottom with the maximum knowledge have the least power, and the chief executive officer with the minimum knowledge has the maximum power. So as the level increases, the power increases, and the knowledge and technical detail and the physical know-how of the things decreases upstairs. I'm talking about the current situation. The CEO might be a very qualified person, but current situation, he cannot have eyes everywhere. Therefore, higher you go, more is the need to control and monitor what is happening under you. And naturally, you can't have so many eyes. So, with your experience and intelligence at that level, you are able to devise mechanisms to deduce the performance underneath. And for that, usually what we do is we create performance indicators, key performance indicators at every level, at organizational level, at departmental level, or at even at country level. We do have key performance indicators. If the CEO tries to interfere into the business of a project, the internal working of a project, that would be called micromanagement. That is no good for the CEO, because if he is wasting so much time in our project, the whole organization is orphaned. They are not getting his attention. And this project, the project manager will become toothless. So we don't want to do that. We do not want to micromanagement. We do not want this micromanagement, but we are all right with the macro management. Macro management is that, with, wisdom, a senior person sits up there and is able to manage things properly through key performance indicators. And these key performance indicators naturally are to be designed in such a way that they can give you near to the true picture. Like you see, the CEO of an organization can have a very good picture of how the organization is performing by seeing the level of satisfaction of his employees. If he sees that all the workers are very well satisfied, they are happy, they are they're work coming on time, there is no attrition rate and all these things, then probably everything is fine. This is a very good indicator of that. So he could create a KPI to see how well the people are performing. And there could be many others. It is not specific that is a specific activity being delayed. This is not a key performance indicator. A key performance indicator would be more general in nature, but then it would be giving you results in statistical terms which could be near to truth. But at the same time, there is a mechanism of reporting upwards. Um, all the projects will be reporting to their respective bosses, and ultimately they will be summarized and reported up and all that. That mechanism is there, and that is actually to satisfy those key performance indicators. So the strategic direction provides us the purpose, expectations, goals, and actions. Naturally, first you dream. If you establish an organization, first you dream what this organization is meant for. Where do you want to be? If you start your own company, you definitely would have a vision of that company, what you want to do and where you want to be. So there has to be a vision. I want to be the best orator in the country. So if you want to be the best orator in the company, then naturally you will design everything around you in such a way that you develop skills in that area, and ultimately that purpose, the expectations, the goals and actions will be aligned with that. So there will be necessary to guide the business pursuit and is aligned with the business objective. So probably you want to be the best orator in the country, as if you can, sustain yourself, or, maybe you can earn money out of it, or maybe you may have your own business objectives. Project management activities should be aligned with a top-level business decision. So whatever the organizational direction is, project management activities have to be subordinate to that. They cannot be working outside of the sphere of the organization or of the business decision. If at all there is a change, then project objectives need to be aligned. Now, what is this change he's talking about? He's talking about the change in the organizational direction. If your vision changes, if your direction of the organization changes, then everything set up in your organization already may not remain in alignment with the new objective. Therefore, whatever is there has to be realigned. And normally, this is exactly what the portfolios does. Portfolio is aligned back to back with the organizational strategy. And if there is a change in alignment of the organization, the direction is changed, then the strategy changes, objective changes, then all the projects and everything which is being run right now would be accordingly reprioritized and redesigned. In a project environment, changes to project objectives, naturally, if the project objectives do change, naturally, if the strategy changes and the project objectives are affected and this project objectives are changed, then the project efficiency will be changed. The project success could be affected. When the business alignment of a project is constant, there is no change in it, the chances of project success greatly increases because the project remains aligned with the strategy and the direction, and that direction is stable. Should something change, projects should change accordingly, because if they don't, then they don't serve the purpose. Talking about the project-based organizations, they refer to various organizational forms that create temporary systems for carrying out their work. In olden days, there was a term which was called project teams. Project teams were something, you just assembled a small little team for a special objective, and you don't call them project, you call them project teams. So one team is doing one task and another team is doing another task. So in every department, they could form any number of project teams. And if they properly organize these teams, they could be projects. And sometimes within a department, within one of the departments of the organization, there could be a lot of activity as far as the projects are concerned, and they may call themselves the project-based organizations, or an organization or department which is managing by projects. To define managing by projects, let me tell you, rather ask you, are you aware about management by objectives? What is management by objectives? The previous mechanism of managing organizations was just according to the SOPs. Management by objective was that every operational head was assigned certain objectives to meet, and it was left on to that person how he meets those objectives. So he was at liberty to start any projects or whatever within his department to meet those objectives, or through operations, increasing or decreasing the speed of operation or whatever, he had to meet those objectives. So it is kind of a target oriented thing, and this way the traditional organizations which were not performing very well by management by objectives, they were able to perform even better. But then there was yet another concept, and that was management by projects. It was found that projects are more volatile and they produce results. So what they did was they said, okay, do not do the management by objectives, but they started assigning projects to various departments. So our department could have 10 projects, another department could have 12 projects in addition to the operations, and there was awareness or the importance of running the things through projects and achieving fast results. That became a concept of management by projects. So this project based organization is very near to that concept. PBOs could be applied to any kind of organization. Like we will study later, there are functional organizations which are the traditional hierarchical organization, deep-rooted organizations, which is the very old structure that there is a boss, and under him there are department heads, and under department heads they've got dedicated staff, and a deep hierarchy exists. This is called a functional organization, and I'm not saying this is bad. Functional organization is also very useful because this is designed according to the operations. For the operational purposes, this is the best setup one could have. But once you try to run projects in a functional organization, it is not supportive of projects at all. Then we have got matrix organizations which are kind of useful for both kind of environments. Functions are also possible, and they can quickly switch into projects, and both things can happen simultaneously. This is a mechanism which we'll describe later. And a projectized organization is an organization which is the whole organization is designed around projects. There are no departments, but there are just projects within an organization. And the top level management is looking directly at the project managers. They are directly, assigning jobs to the project managers, and project managers are, having their own dedicated staff. They don't have to borrow the staff from anywhere. This is a dedicated staff, and this is best organization structure, our ideal organization structure for running the projects. But it is the worst organization structure for running an organization because there is no operations in it. Who will look after the administrative things about the organization? Now, all projects have to be self-sustaining, and there cannot be any harmony amongst them. But as far as the project management is concerned, projectized is a wonderful, dream machine for them. Use of PBOs may diminish the hierarchy and bureaucracy inside the organization, as the success of the work is measured by the final result rather than by position or politics. They have just amended the name for management by projects now, and they have started calling it project-based organizations. So if there are projects in an organization or in a department, then probably the hierarchy is no more valid. These are, they are the kind of a number of projects are running within the organization and given more importance. Therefore, this could be more useful for project point of view. PBOs conduct majority of their work as projects, as I said, and are provide project rather than functional approaches. PBOs can refer to either entire firms or networks, right? Like I said, a whole organization could be a PBO based, or it could be our department. It is also possible that some large PBOs have functional support areas are that the PPO is nested within the subsidiaries or divisions of large companies, corporations, as I said. Yes, anyone wants to say something? Yeah, please.
Yes, I was just wondering if you could give some examples because I'm not able to relate with the different.
Okay.
You're saying rain matrix projectized. Yeah.
Actually, I did not define them for the reason that they are to be discussed in a lot of detail later, the functional and all those metrics and projectized organization. But I was just hinting about them that a normal organization, operational organization, to do your operational work, naturally you need to have specific departments. So functional organization is good for that. You have a finance department, you have a contracts department, procurement department, and operations department, whatever, production department. And everybody has got a SOP and they're working according to that SOP. So everything is fine. So this is good for the running of the operations of the organization. This has been tailored for that specific purpose. The whole of the bureaucracy which has been established in an organization from the operations point of view is good enough for operations. But if you want to bring a change into operations and you want to start a project in such kind of organization, probably you have to borrow staff, people and resources from different departments. You may have to, for doing this project, you may need to have a person coming from finance, a person from IT department, a person from, production department, or more than one person from production department. So they all have to team up for that experiment, which we call the project, and they have to deliver something which will later be adopted into the operations. But you see, because organization is highly hierarchical and operational in nature, and they prioritize, they give more priority to their operational work, and they don't understand the importance of changes and projects. Therefore, they will not spare staff for the projects. They will give last priority to the project, and resultantly the projects will be delayed or they will never achieve their results, and ultimately change will never come into the organization. I am not saying the projects will not run in a functional organization. I am saying this is extremely hard for projects to run in an operational organization. On the other hand, if it is environment is made very conducive for the projects, like you said no importance for the functional staff. We are not bothered about the functions of the organization. We are just a research organization, and we will have these 20 projects running simultaneously in our organization, and we will dedicate all the resources to these projects, and project managers will be solely responsible for all the staff, dedicated staff. So such an organization would be able to produce wonderful projects, wonderful results, but at the same time, uh, who is looking after their administration? Who is looking after the hiring of HR and all those things? The functional responsibilities are then missing. So matrix organization is a kind of structure which has got uh, a kind of a functional structure as well, and it is conducive for running projects across the functions. And this is exactly what I am going to be discussing later, but not now. Here we just want to explore the possibility of project-based organizations which could have any kind of structure, even functional, projectized or matrix structure, but project-based organization could exist anywhere. Am I clear on that?
Yes, sir. So just one more question for the projectized segment. Is it that the main function of the organization is to do projects? Like, is it like a construction company
Right?
or something like that? Is that
Yes.
what it's referring to?
Such like organizations which are running construction projects or IT projects or things like that, they are more tailored according to the projectized structure. But if you look at it from another perspective, if you are a construction company, what is the objective of your organization? Why are you doing?
Basically,
Yes?
yeah, eventually it's to bring in more revenue.
Exactly. So you have operational targets.
Yes.
So you have some
All
kind
right.
of operations on top of everything. And that's why
All
you
right. So
are
how do you,
doing this content.
but you would, but how do you classify that? I mean, is there a line where you say this is, that's what, do projectized companies have an operational side, or is it like the same thing?
I think more likely it is a matrix structure, but matrix structure also have certain, certain types within itself. Some are weak matrices, some are strong matrices, some are balanced matrices. So this specific example is of a strong matrix in which there is a functional structure, but that structure is just to support the projects. More power or more focus is on the project. This would be a strong structure, strong matrix structure. Naturally, I have not defined all these types so far, therefore you might have difficulty understanding it, but once we will talk about them, you will be more clear about it. But generally speaking, if you just can, create an overall idea, what I am saying is, then that is enough. We don't need to go into that detail right now.
All right, sir. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Now coming back to the organizational governance, which I already described to you, projects and programs are undertaken to achieve certain strategic business outcomes, right? So naturally, we do understand and agree that project, program, portfolio, whatever we are doing it according to the organizational strategy, in alignment with the organizational strategy. We cannot do something outside of the scope of the organization. Now, many organizations now adopt formal organizational governance processes and procedures. Now, we are talking about mature organizations which have realized that they have to bring changes to projects and programs, and they have to have certain rules and regulations and processes and procedures in place. So, organizations at top level, they have come up with certain rules and regulations, policies and procedures. Organizational governance criteria can impose constraints on the projects. If you have specified something in the governance structure, so naturally whatever is done under that governance structure have to abide by that. Therefore, a project may feel constrained by certain things. Like, here in Islamabad, there had been a big earthquake, and after that earthquake, it has been made a regulation that all the construction being done in Islamabad city is going to be earthquake proof. So building rules have been amended. Now this is the governance criteria, and all the constructions, whether it is profitable for them or not, they have to abide by that. Particularly if the project delivers a service which will be subject to strict organizational governance. So if there are more laws, then naturally the projects will have more constraints. If there is no governance structure, projects would be running wild. I don't say that projects will not be successful, but still they will then have more flexibility. But naturally, we want to restrict the projects according to the governance structure for certain larger good. Therefore, and those governance instructions or policies and procedures will actually provide us mechanism to put our KPIs in it. We can take the temperature of the whole organization by these governance structures, how well they are being followed. Project success may be judged on the basis of how well the resultant product or service support the organizational governance. So when a product or service is coming out of the project, we see how much does it comply with the organizational governance. Was it made exactly according to the instructions or processes or procedures or laws and regulations which had been created in the organizational governance or not? If it is not, then we would say that it does not comply. I'm not talking about quality or anything else. I am just talking about the compliance to the laws and regulations. So it is important for project manager to be knowledgeable about these organizational governance policies and procedures pertaining to the subject matter of the product or service. Now, there might be the governance policies and procedures for the whole organization, but there will be specific items out of that which apply to the project manager, and he must be aware about those things, and he must ensure that he complies with that. For example, if an organization has adopted policies in support of sustainability practices, which is very common nowadays, sustainability practices, and the project involves construction of a new office building, the project manager should be aware of the sustainability requirements related to building construction. How much it should be able to sustain. What are the national or international sustainability requirements they must be adhered to. So this is exactly how the standards are imposed. Okay, the organizational strategy, it should provide guidance and direction to the project management. So as I said, everything we are doing, even the governance structure we are creating is due to the organizational strategy. We must have some organizational strategy in place, and to comply with the organization, to achieve the organizational strategy, we have a governance structure defined, and naturally under that governance structure, we are trying that everything being done in this organization must be in accordance with the organizational strategy, especially when one considers that project exists to support the organizational strategies, then ultimately projects will be in compliance. Project sponsor, our portfolio, our program manager identifies those alignments, which we discussed earlier also when we were defining the project program and portfolio. We said how these managements could be aligned with the organization strategy. If you remember, you can pull back those pages and see, then you would know how portfolio management can be aligned to the organization strategy, how program management can be aligned to this, and project management. Are potential conflicts between organization strategies and project goals, if there are any. If there are any conflict between organizational strategies and the project goals, they must be communicated by the project manager and they must be resolved. It is not possible that project goals, though in conflict with the organization strategy, are being achieved. They cannot be achieved. If they have to be, then there has to be provisions made. There has to be special permissions taken. For example, you say, like, we had a rule that we will work only 9 to 5 in this organization. But you have started a new project and this project demands working more than that. That is not allowed at all. You can't do that as a project manager. But if you really have a genuine reason that this job cannot be done if you work 9 to 5, or you may have to accommodate flexi timing, or you may have to work longer hours, then probably you have to seek permission from the organization and get that thing relaxed for you, that rule relaxed for you. That can be done, but you cannot just do it without any permissions. If the goals of a project are in conflict with an established organization strategy, project manager has to document and identify such conflicts as early as possible in the project. You can't just, hide these things. You can't hide these conflicts and, you can keep doing whatever you feel like. As soon as you come across a situation where you see a potential conflict between the organization strategy and your project objective, it must be highlighted and resolved. Either you get a permission to do as per the project objectives, or you amend your project goals. Sometimes development of an organizational strategy could be the goal of the project itself. Now this could be very interesting. As we are bringing changes through projects, there might be a project of business process reengineering, which is, even suggesting changes to the organizational strategy. This could be a very interesting case. How can you govern by the same organizational strategy which you are trying to change in your project? So therefore, you have to have certain relaxations, and you cannot be governed by the same organizational strategy which you are trying to change. It is important for the project to specifically define What constitutes an appropriate organizational strategy that will sustain the organization? Okay, so far so good. Are we ready to move ahead, or any questions here?
So in the case where we're working on the organizational strategy, so who would that project team constitute? Is it the senior management, or is it again mid-level management?
You
Because
see,
we're working on the organizational strategy.
that all depends. You see, I had an opportunity of working on such like project. We were working from on a project with United Nations Development, UNDP, and it was funding for National Highway Authority of Pakistan. And we were assigned the job to do the business process re-engineering for the organization. And I was a consultant from the consultant group, and we had to do that. Naturally, we were supposed to study all the processes right from the top, right from the vision, direction, strategy, everything, and we had to suggest the changes to that. Once we started working, uh, although the chairman of the of National Highway Authority was very supportive, because they were getting funding out of an UNDP also, that was also one of the factors. He was very supportive of getting this funding and actually for getting any improvement in his organization. But at the same time, we were restricted not to enter into their organization and interview anyone. Tell me, how can I do anything? How can I study a system if I'm not allowed to see the system? So when we objected to that and asked them, how can we do our job? They said, okay, we are doing everything according to the SOPs which we have already created, and you can study those SOPs and you can find what are our existing processes. So we were not allowed to enter the organization. We were given office space outside of the organization, and we sat down and we studied all the SOPs. We drew all the process maps and developed everything. And then was the time when we had completed our mapping of the processes that we got back to the chairman and we asked him, um, we just want one time to confirm that these processes we have mapped, are they exactly how the organization is functioning? If so, then we can proceed ahead with our next job. He said, okay, you can be permitted. And when we started looking at the organizations and we started, telling them this is how you should be working, we found out none of the organizations knew what were the SOPs, and they were having whatever procedures ad hoc in their departments, and they were not at all according to the SOPs. So how can I suggest an improvement when your written rules say something else, you are doing something else, and you dream of something else? You see, if you put this kind of restriction on me, how can I make changes to your system? You understand my point?
I do, sir. So eventually, what happened then?
Actually, we suggested to them that the very first step you should do, you do not need a business process reengineering at this stage. You need to follow your SOPs. The process maps we have created for you now, you can apply them and come up to that level that you are able to follow the SOPs, and only then when you are operational on those SOPs properly, only then we can come later and then see what else and what further could be improved. So that's what they were working on then.
All right, sir.
So next topic is again very interesting, and this is new in this standard, business value. This was never before in PMBOK, because previously PMI used to say that we would not talk more about strategy. But now they have started more about strategy. Previously, they just mentioned the strategic objectives and they did not talk much about organizational strategy. Once they have learned that projects are very instrumental in developing or following the organizational strategy, they have started going in depth. And now project management has evolved into something completely new. This is embracing the strategy altogether. So business value is one topic which has now been introduced. So in business value, let's first understand what is the business value. Let's be very materialistic. If you are running a business, what is the net worth of your business at any point in time? Can you calculate that? Can you calculate the net worth of your business at any point in time?
So that, I think that would be the assets that we hold
Of
and
course.
the profit
Exactly.
that's generated.
Exactly. So we have to look at
Yeah.
it, the business value of every organization, no matter it is a government organization, is a not-for-profit organization, whatever it is, everything has a business value. And this concept is unique to each organization. Some organizations look at it from the business point of view, the profit-making organizations. Other organizations which are not profit-making, they look at it from a different angle. But you see, everything, whether it is a government project, whether it is a donor agency project, whatever the project is, non-profit project or whatever, sorry, not the project, organization, whatever kind of the organization, it is worth something. And they have to determine their business value at any point in time. And this business value is defined as the entire value of the business, the total sum of all tangible and intangible elements. Now, naturally, the tangible elements are those which could be, assessed properly, monetarily, or which are fixtures, which are physically present, the tables, chairs, equipment, and everything. There must be a worth of those things. So these are which could be tangible. Your account in bank, your whatever services you have provided, and everything which is an asset in whatever form could be calculatable, and therefore these are the tangible elements of your business value. But there is an intangible aspect as well. Like you see, the organization or the department or whatever you are running, this organization has some goodwill. It has some, you have got a logo, and that logo itself is carrying some value. No matter your business is going successful or not, but like Microsoft logo is a big thing. If Microsoft is drowning today and I buy Microsoft, then that logo will bring its value along with it. Then there is a goodwill they have established. They have been serving well to their customers, so that goodwill will also cost something. There is a brand recognition, there is a public benefit, trademarks, all these things which are intangibles but could also add value. If you try to sell your business today, it is not only the assets and fixtures and everything, not only the tangible but intangibles also. So this will determine the whole value of your business. That is exactly what we want to determine. And we actually are not really interested in determining that. We are more interested in knowing what your business value is, as if whatever we do, whatever actions we do, whatever projects we do, they should somehow be adding value to my business. This is the point. We are not trying to sell our business. We are not trying to sell our organization. I want to know the worth of my organization, as if I should always be able to improve and enhance its worth, its value, and take it on the upward path. So depending upon an organization, the business value scope can be determined in short-term objectives, medium-term objectives, long-term objectives. But whatever we do, first you must have a dream. You must have a vision. As I said, if your organization wants to be, you are making some mobile sets. So you want to be the leading mobile set manufacturers in, say, Asia. This could be your target. Could be your vision. And to fulfill that vision, you will determine the direction you will take. And definitely that direction would translate to your long-term objective. And that long-term objective will be broken down into medium-term objectives and then to your short-term objective, and then you will start working on each short-term objective, and ultimately bit by bit you would be traveling towards your ultimate target. So this is how we are creating value. When I started my business, this was worth this much. Now, if I follow this plan of short-term, medium-term and long-term, ultimately achieving my target, I will continuously be adding value with every step to my business value. So whatever we do in our organization, whether it is operation or project or whatever, should be able to add value to my business. And that is how we satisfy the organizational strategy. How the strategic objectives are being achieved. This is how the strategic objectives are achieved. So value may be created through effective management of ongoing operations. Through the effective use of portfolio, program and project management, organizations will possess the ability to employ reliable, established processes to meet strategic objectives. So whenever we have to change, the primary thing is effective management of ongoing operations. But to continuously improve those operations, I may need to bring change through programs, projects and programs, portfolios, programs and projects. And organization will then possess the ability to employ reliable, established processes to meet strategic objectives and obtain greater value for their project investment. This is why we are doing projects, as if we can improve operations and add to the business value. All organizations may not be business driven. They may be government organizations. Even government organizations, agencies and NGOs focus on attaining business value for their activities. They want to achieve their target. They want to meet their vision. They want to go on short, medium and long term. So therefore, they are adding value to their business all the time. May it not be in terms of money, but they are traveling upwards. So whatever the business value they have determined to achieve ultimately, bits and pieces, they are achieving that. So this business value concept does not only apply to profit-making organizations, but for non-profits also. How do the business value get realized? Naturally, we understand if we have set up the short-term, medium-term and long-term objectives, as we keep achieving them, we keep realizing the business value. So successful business value realization begins with a comprehensive strategic planning and management. We must have an overall plan, the long-term plan. Organizational strategy can be expressed through the organization's vision and mission. So when we set our vision, we set our mission behind it, and to achieve that mission, we develop the organizational strategy and then we break it down into various phases, long-term, short-term and whatever, including orientations to the market, competition, other environmental factors. Effective organizational strategy provides defined directions for development and growth in addition to performance metrics for success. So I have set up small little targets for myself. I have a short-term objective of say 1 year for me. During this 1 year, how would I know how much I have performed? How much value I have achieved? So for that, organization has to set up certain kinds of performance metrics. Some KPIs have to be determined, and naturally you do understand, we have already discussed, the governance mechanism has to be in place, and according to that the managers will establish their performance metric, and that's how it will be measured throughout. It is essential to use portfolios, programs and project management techniques in order to bridge the gap between organizational strategy and successful business value realization. If we do not use organizational project management, meaning portfolio programs and projects, then there could be a gap between organization strategy and business value realization. Just trust me, business value realization is something materialistic. Organizational strategy is something like a dream. Organizational strategy might take us on a roller coaster ride where we could be riding the clouds, but at the same time we want to keep our feet on the ground with touching the reality. So business value realization is the reality. Organizational strategy is traveling on the clouds. So I want to be traveling on the clouds while my feet are still on ground. And organizational project management will make it possible for you to determine what you are achieving and when. So these short-term, medium-term and long-term objectives will be cast, your nails will be cast into it. You would be able to declare how much have you achieved so far. That is exactly how business value is realized. Now, looking at how the portfolio management can serve for the business value realization, we have already discussed, I will just remind you, we have already discussed how the portfolio management aligns with the organization strategy, how the program management aligns with the organization strategy, how the project management aligns with the organization strategy, and how the OPM aligns with the organization strategy. Now we are talking about keeping our feet on ground. How portfolio management realizes the business value, how program management realizes the business value, how project management realizes the business value. You can compare these two slides and you can differentiate how we are doing all this. So as far as the portfolio management is concerned, this aligns the components. Its components, what are the components of portfolio? This is all the projects and programs and operations, whole portfolio of the organization. So it aligns its components to the organizational strategy. Number one, that is the same thing we have studied earlier. We said portfolio management has to be aligned with the organizational strategy. So that is one job. It aligns that, and what it does next, organized into portfolios or sub-portfolios to optimize the project and program objectives, dependencies, costs, timelines, benefits, resources, and this. Optimization is the key. Optimizing all these objectives, aligning with the strategy and then optimizing will add to the business value. This allows organizations to have an overall view of how the strategic goals are reflected in the portfolio. You are now able to determine how much have you achieved. Institute appropriate governance management. This is another nail in the ground. Authorize humans, financials and material resources to be allocated based on the expected performance and benefits. Although the things we have discussed in the alignment of portfolio management with the strategy are almost the same. We did talk about the resource sharing. The strategic resource sharing is the responsibility of the portfolio management. Here that is put into more concrete terms from the business value point of view. Authorize humans, financials or material resources to be allocated based on the expected performance and benefit. It should be able to yield the maximum optimum performance and benefit, and that is exactly going to achieve your business value. As far as the program management is concerned, using program management, organizations have the ability to align multiple projects for what? For optimized and integrated cost, schedule, effort, benefits. You see, you have to be very sincere with the organization. Personal benefits or personal targets have to be set aside. We have to look at the organizational objectives, and not only the organizational objectives, but doing them in the optimum possible way. That would actually deliver the business value. Program management focuses on project interdependencies, as we know, and helps to determine the optimal approach. So optimal is the key here. If you do everything to its optimum, that is the best possible according to your current knowledge, then you are achieving the business value, for managing and realizing the desired benefits. As far as projects are concerned, organizations have the ability to apply knowledge, processes, skills, and tools and techniques that enhance the likelihood of success over a wide range of projects that we know. Project management focuses on the successful delivery of the product, service, and result. Within programs and portfolios, projects are a means of achieving organizational strategy and objective. So again, here the focus is, if the project management ensures the successful and optimal delivery of the product service result, we are adding to the business value. So just highlighting the aspect that if we do everything according to the alignment of the strategy, but at the same time we are optimal, then we are adding something to the business value of the organization. Similarly, organizational enablers, which are, I said, a glue which puts the portfolio programs and projects together. These are some kind of organizational things which support the functioning of project programs and portfolios, like you see some kind of structural things, cultural, technological, human resource practices. So organizations can further facilitate the alignment of these project programs and portfolios and management activities by strengthening the organizational enablers. Your structural practices must be strengthened, cultural structure, practices, technical practices, HR practices. If they are brought to the optimal, they could be supporting the organizational project management even better. So the effective realization, organizations can achieve successful transitions within the portfolio program and project domains and attain effective investment management and business value realization. Effective investment management, putting the buck where it matters. We don't want to be just, putting money everywhere. Like in portfolio, we said we will optimally decide where we want to invest. Effectively, we are making the right investment at the right time, which would help us in realization of the business value. How do we do that? By continuously conducting portfolio strategic alignment and optimization, performing business impact analysis, and developing robust organizational enablers. So we keep looking at these three things: portfolio, strategic alignment, and all that, as if all the projects and programs being entered into the organizational portfolio are the optimum, are the best. Number two, we keep analyzing the things, the impact of the business. We keep analyzing that, and we also keep making our organizational enablers, which I just discussed with you, more stronger by the time. So I hope we were able to get a picture of the whole thing. As far as the business value is concerned, business value is new and important, and that's why I wanted it just have to be a little more materialistic to understand the business value. Otherwise, business value and strategic alignment looks like the same thing. Any comments?
Yes, sir. Like business value is the realization of strategy or the goals, strategic goals.
Business value, no. This is an assurance of strategic alignment by realizing the business benefit realization. By realizing the business value. If we realize the business value, if we are optimum, simply put, if we are optimum, we are okay. Let's not be optimum. We are aligned with the organizational strategy. Our general direction is the same and we are comfortable with it, but we are not doing our optimum. Still we could be aligned with our strategy. But if we are optimum, then we are further adding value to the organization. You understand my point?
Yeah, but sir, still, I mean, that's true, but I mean, still.
Okay, let me put
goals according to the strategy.
Right.
We are definitely adding to the business value.
Yeah, of course. You see, it's just like I have been there. We are 10 people. who have been asked to be aligned with the organization. We have been given a track. We are supposed to be running on the track. So we all are running on the track, but the person who is leading is bringing the best value. Do you understand me? All the projects running on that track might be in alignment with the strategic objectives or strategic alignment. All are running on the track, they all are abiding by the organizational strategy. But we want to be optimum. We want to produce the best of the best results. We want to come first. So that's how we will bring more value, business value. We'll realize the business value. Did this make something clear?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, the next topic is the role of the project manager. You see, project manager has a very diverse role. Project manager is a person who keeps changing his hats all the time. He has to have all the knowledge of project management. He has to have all the knowledge of business management. He has to have all the knowledge of technical management. And still, he will have difficulties. He must be having interpersonal skills on top of everything. So, the job of project manager is not supposed to be very simple. What are the responsibilities and competencies for a project manager? This we have to discuss. First, we have to see what kind of managers are there in an organization. We do have the project managers which have been assigned by the performing organization to lead a team or project, and they are made responsible for only that project objectives. But you see, a project manager is not specifically looking at a specific kind of job. He could be having diverse team members specializing in different areas, different technologies, but he has to focus on his project objectives. Therefore, he might have to have knowledge on a wider aspects. So this is the project manager who is assigned on a temporary assignment to achieve a certain project objective and deliver something during a limited time period. But the functional managers and the operational managers within an organization are kind of long-term appointments. Their job is constant. So there are two types of people in an organization. One are the functional managers and the other are the operations managers. Actually, the core business of the organization, is being handled by the operations managers. Like you see, it's a factory which specializes in automobiles. So all those people who have expertise of different aspects of automobiles, mechanics and this and that, electricians and whatever, these all are the operational staff. And the people managing them are technically sound on those areas, and these are the operational managers. They are responsible for ensuring that the business operations are run efficiently. Whereas the functional manager is the management oversight, and they coordinate and facilitate all business units. You see, like, HR managers and account managers and finance managers, all these kinds of people do exist in all kinds of organizations. These are the functional managers, and they facilitate the operations managers and even the project managers. So project manager may report to a functional manager or a portfolio manager or a program manager in different organizational structures, but the job of project manager is very different or very demanding as compared to functional and operational managers, because functional managers and operational managers have predefined duties, whereas project manager not only is responsible for the project, but he has to look at the technical aspects, operational aspects, functional aspects within his project. And he has to also coordinate and communicate with the operational and functional managers outside of his domain. So to whom project manager reports? depends upon the organization structure, the type of organization structure, which we are going to be discussing later. Like, I said projectized and functional and all that. So whichever kind of organization structure you belong to, or depending on that, project manager may report to a functional manager. He may report to a program manager. He may report to a portfolio manager who is ultimately responsible for the enterprise-wide project. This all depends. This is not a firm answer that he will only be reporting to this guy. No, he could be reporting to any one of these or anyone else. Project manager works very closely with the program and portfolio managers to achieve project objectives. Again, it depends upon whether the project is part of a program or a portfolio or not. If project is completely independent, is not under any program or any portfolio, then project is directly aligned with the organizational strategy, and then project manager is responsible for achieving those project objectives and directly reporting to the organizational strategy. So to ensure the project management plan aligns with the overarching program plan, if there is a program plan, that is the responsibility of project manager. If it is under a program, then it must abide by the program requirements. Meaning what? Meaning that program must have given a project governance mechanism under which project manager must abide by. And whatever the program management plan was created, project management plan is subordinate to that. He also works closely and in collaboration with other roles like business analysts, quality assurance managers, and subject matter experts. Naturally, on and off, there is interaction with these different roles. Business analyst role, the interaction with business analyst is a very complicated kind of a situation because that is more of an operational role or you could say functional role, business analyst. But sometimes business analyst and project manager work together for a long period of time. But naturally that is not the subject here, therefore I will not discuss that. But I just wanted to say that sometimes project manager assumes the role of business analyst as well. Value and good practice, responsibilities and competencies of project manager. Projects create value in the form of improved business processes, are indispensable in the development of new products or services, and make it easier for companies to respond to changes in the environment, competition, and marketplace. Project manager's role becomes increasingly strategic. Why? You see, this is the person who is center of attention. If there is a huge project going on or even a small project going on, all the eyes are fixed on the project manager. Nobody asks what organization is doing that project. Everybody asks who is the project manager. And project manager is supposed to be all-knowing. He has to be reporting to his top bosses. He has to control his staff and everything, and he has to, even to get job done. So project manager is the center of attention. His role is highly strategic because everybody is analyzing him, how well he has performed so far. Good practices in application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques are not sufficient for effective project management. This is the first time we are looking at this statement. Although we said the project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to the project activity. But here it says it is not enough. Then what is left? What else a project manager needs to have? Application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. This is defined by the knowledge of project management, which is encompassed in this book, body of knowledge. A guide to the project management body of knowledge gives us the knowledge about the project management, and every project manager must know that. So if you understand PMBOK, you have the knowledge. If you act according to PMBOK, then you have experience. You perform. So you must have knowledge, you must have performance, but still this is not enough. You must have some personal characteristics. How a project manager behaves when performing the project. How he interacts. And there we are talking about the soft skills. And there are number of soft skills which a project manager needs to be mastering. He must be a good leader. He must be a good negotiator. He must be able to resolve any kinds of conflicts and so on and so forth. There are a lot many things, and that is not encompassed in the knowledge and performance he has studied. So as a person, project manager has to be an example. And to increase his personal effectiveness, you see, this is very critical that anyone who wants to improve, you may become a PMP today, but if you do not want to enhance your knowledge, you do not want to improve your skills, you do not want to be more competent, this all depends upon your attitudes. If you want to improve, if you want to learn, you must have an attitude to learn. I can teach you for hours on end, but if you are not really convinced, you will never learn anything. I have been teaching at lot many places, and there are people who are just sitting there. They sitting ducks. They don't want to listen, and they just keep nodding their heads as if they understand everything. They don't want to learn. You must have an attitude, and if you have an attitude, it is not even necessary that you study anything from anyone. Like, some of you have joined this class, and before even joining this class, you have already listened to my earlier lectures. That shows the attitude. That shows the interest. That shows your seriousness towards the subject. Then there are some core personality characteristics. There are some people who can't learn. That is built into them. They can't change certain habits. So some habits are unlearnable. So those core personality characteristics have to be worked around. If there was a person working with me, and he was from some village. His way of speaking was like, very derogative. But I knew that he didn't mean it. This is his language. He can't improve it. So I used to compensate him for that. I never used to object to if he calls me to or something like that. I never minded it. Whatever he said, I said okay. But I always looked at the context of it. So if you can somehow work around it, those core personality characteristics or constraints could be avoided. So the person himself could work around it. Leadership is the ability to guide the project team while achieving project objectives and balancing the project constraint. But one thing I learned about leadership is not through power. This is through charisma. Even if I am assigned by a very powerful authority on a very powerful project with a lot of powers given to myself, that power should not be used to lead the project at all. If I am given that kind of power, I'll keep it in my back pocket and forget about it. This is all my charisma, personality, how I can influence the people. If I can influence the people just by mere charisma and personality of myself, the people will be able to meet the objectives. But if I try to be autocratic, I try to enforce things based on power, probably it will never achieve the desired results. So there are a number of interpersonal skills a project manager needs to have. Like I said, leadership. Team building is very important, because you see the team you have gathered is unique. They may not have worked together earlier. Some people may have been new hires. Some people are coming from one department, some from another department. So this is a unique entity, a unique union of these people. They have never worked together before in this combination. So they have to be, you have very less time. In projects, you don't have a lot of time. And in this very less time, you have to put this team together and uh, groom them in a way that they can perform to their optimum. They must be motivated. You can't, as I said before, it is not the matter of power. Motivation is something inbuilt. You know, a person, two people are getting the same salary, but one person says, well, today I'm not feeling well, I can't work. So, how do you motivate people? How do you influence people? That is the art, and that is through more of a psychological thing rather than through autocracy. Then everything must be open communication. You must communication openly and transparently. Don't make groups, don't hide information from one another. Whatever is to be communicated to whomever is required must be communicated in an open environment. Like motivation, you must have powers to influence. You must be a very good decision maker and very fast decision maker. A project manager must take decisions on the spur of the moment, and he must have high level of intelligence and high level of emotional quotient. Political and cultural awareness. He must know the surroundings, the strategy, the other organizations, internal and external environments, enterprise environments. All these must be properly considered. He must be intelligent enough to conceive and behave accordingly. Negotiations, trust building exercises. With your stakeholders, you will have to, soothe them. You will have to, do measures as if they can trust you. Whatever you are doing is in their benefit. And there will be conflicts within the team, outside of the team. You have to manage those conflicts, and at the same time, sometimes you have to start even coaching your staff. But all these different things must be done very judiciously. All these 11 items of interpersonal skills, though they may not be the only 11 items, there may be many, many more things you come across. So whatever interpersonal or soft skills you need to learn, you must learn and you must master as a project manager. Uh, the appendix 3 of PMBOK gives these interpersonal skills. You can read through them. I have created the slides for each one of these, all the 11 skills. You can read through them in your own time. But generally speaking, everything is written in these slides and you can go through them. This will give you an inbuilt, in-depth knowledge about these things. To the not really in-depth, but you see, each one of these topics is so huge that there are books written on it. I can't encompass everything in just a few slides, but as per PMBOK, we are, this much knowledge is okay with you. If you have this much knowledge, this is okay for your PMP exam. This is what I want to say. Otherwise, you need to learn more about communication, about influencing and leadership and all that. That is a never-ending journey. You must. There is no end to it. So these are all the interpersonal skills, and you can go through these slides. I hope you have already seen the slides before. And lastly, project management body of knowledge, as we have just already understood how it is structured, 10 knowledge areas, 5 process groups, 47 processes, and all that. This is what we are going to be ultimately discussing later. So this brings us to the end of today's thing. We are finishing off with the first chapter today, and tomorrow we will be starting the next chapter, and that would be um, specific to the project life cycle and all that. We will not no more talk about the programs, portfolios, organizational project management, maturity, business value. All these things are gone. This is just only till first chapter, and that was to establish the reference to context. After this, we will be talking specifically from the point of view of our project, managing our project. So any questions so far? Anybody? Any questions? Okay, whatever, if you have any questions, you can also WhatsApp me and we can, I can even answer you there, or maybe you can come up with more questions tomorrow. Anyways, we will be starting at 10 p.m. tomorrow, my time, and we will be starting with the second chapter. So thank you very much. It was really nice having you today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you and take care. Bye.